Hi everybody, I'm Christian and this is Lazy Devs. Welcome to our Pico-8 Breakout tutorial, and this is the post-beta episode. We released the beta, it was out on the internets, and now we're back. We received some inputs. I asked people to play the game and send me their stats. We received the stats. I have this Excel spreadsheet, and at some point we're going to go through like the stats and we're going to try to modify our levels. Let's open the thing, because today I just want to be focusing on making a new checklist of how we're going to respond to the feedback that we got from the beta. And generally something that I've done a lot of teaching recently, and generally something I notice is I want to step through this once just so we can talk a little bit about how to generally make games, how games are kind of like the part after the playtesting is often the most important part, and it's also the part that especially newcomer game developers, where there's like no financial incentive behind it, are very eager to just skip. They kind of like, the game is finished and just release it and that's it, you know. Maybe they fix some bugs, but otherwise, you know, they don't try to like they don't consider that there is actually something after playtesting. The playtesting is not just to fix bugs, but actually there is a concept called iterative game design, or generally like iterative design, which I think a lot of game design is all about, where you develop something and then you play it and then you realize something and then you continue developing it. And they kind of like, instead of just coming up with an idea and then doing it, that's kind of like the traditional waterfall model, so to speak. You develop maybe a vague idea, you try it out, it doesn't quite work, but you learn something from it, then you go back to the drawing board and so forth. And you just keep iterating, you just keep developing something, releasing it, developing something, releasing it, just until it gets polished into a beautiful gem. And so, yeah, in order to do that, you actually have to, you know, approach something with this idea that once you release it, once people test it and you receive some feedback, then you want to be planning ahead and be like, okay, now I can actually respond to the feedback, and now this will actually improve my game. Now, I'm not going to be iterating too much on this game, because it has like it was one of the games where it's like, I'm just copying Arkanoid. I'm not going to change this game a lot. But I want to be still stepping through the feedback we received and kind of like give you an idea how one should perhaps respond to feedback. So I got a lot of stuff here. So there's a bunch of simple stuff that are bugs. One problem is score overflow. So one person in our excellent Lazy Devs Discord channel suggested to me, or brought the fact to my attention that if you get like a really high score, and apparently I was so crappy at the game I never noticed, but if you get like a really high score, I'm making the same mistake I actually talked about previously. If you get a really high score, then you get kind of like an overflow problem where suddenly the score gets negative. And that's because I think Pico-8, let me look at this, there's a certain limit to which Pico-8 numbers go, and that's 32,267.99. So if you get a number that is bigger than 32,367.99, the number gets negative, because you actually don't have enough bits to store a number that is bigger. So the number becomes negative and you kind of like cycle through, which is a very known problem in game programming, game development, called an overflow problem. And so, yeah, we actually don't have enough bits in our variables to store a number high enough to contain certain scores, especially if you get like really good at this game. So what we have to do is we have to rewrite our game to work. We probably would have to use like two variables to store the score. I could also like tweak the gameplay so you never get into that high numbers. But yeah, I think it should be fine. We should be able to store the score in two variables. We get into some troubles later on when we're going to save the score, because when you're saving the score, you also need to like have two variables for this. There's some difficulties ahead. It's going to be really fun. Also, the sorting mechanism in a high score list will be also difficult. Some really cool stuff. Okay, so score overflow. There is like some gameplay issue. It's some people suggest it as difficult to redirect the ball. I'm not sure how to solve this. So this is not a bug. This is actually like a gameplay issue where I'm gonna start with like a question mark because I'm not sure how I'm gonna address it. That's something I'm gonna think about when we get to this. Difficult to redirect. We can build in some leniency, like some extra frames, you know, like maybe if the ball hits the pad, you can, and it leaves, flies away from the pad, you can still maybe control it after it flew away from the pad, maybe something like this, a couple of frames. Might be a solution there. What else? Oh, we could receive some beautiful level feedback in overall. Like, okay, so this is going to be, again, a question mark because we have to actually think about it, how we're going to redesign the levels. So level balancing. And then also level feedback. So one of the people in our Discord channel called Light, he's kind of been like a very frequent contributor to this channel. He actually did a beautiful overlay, like how do you call it? Overdraw, overlay, draw over, or something like this. So let me see if we can open this. So here's the thing. Let's make this a bit smaller. And then let's see, yes, you can see it, okay. So wait, can I scroll this? Yes, I can. So he actually, I provided him with this kind of beautiful overlay of all levels, and he went over them and like highlighted problematic areas. And I love it because this allows me to really like go in there and fix individual problems with individual levels. So for example, here, something that he suggested is that there's frequent situations where you launch the ball into somewhere and the ball just jumps around and it does nothing. Like here is not too bad, he said, because you push the ball in here and the ball is still smashing blocks. So he was okay with that, but he really didn't like it when the ball, for example, here, when the ball got over this this indestructible block here and was just bouncing around here because the ball was doing nothing. It was just looking for an exit, and he didn't like that. He wants, if the ball is somewhere bouncing around, he wants it to have meaning, so to speak. Another thing he talked about is how certain blocks are difficult to hit, like this one. I'm not sure if I would agree with this one because my experience was that it was really easy to hit this one and it would the exploding blocks and it would explode the other ones. But on the other hand, I want to be really careful about this, and this is like a very important thing that I want to talk about. Because if you're a game developer and you are very emotionally attached to your thing, your game, you really love it and you want it to be the best. And when then you send out the game to testers, you will receive negative feedback. You will receive feedback that people say, oh, something's broken, or I was bored by this, or something wasn't quite right. And so there is like this, everybody is affected by this, and there's like this instinct to be personally attacked by it, feel personally attacked by it. And the first instinct is to distrust this person or to argue against them somehow and be like, no, you don't understand me, you don't understand my art, you're full of BS and stuff like that, or you didn't play the game hard enough and stuff like that. And I think it's very important to trust your playtesters. I'm not just saying that you should do everything they do, but I think if somebody plays your game and gives you feedback, that already implies that they're actually care also about the game enough that they actually go out of their way to give you some feedback, to kind of they give you the feedback because they want you to improve. So if I see something like this, if I see somebody really investing a lot of time in this, I will be, of course, I should be very, very careful about how I treat this feedback. Like if he says that he had problems hitting this, I shouldn't second guess this. This might be a problem. I should find at least some way to address it. Doesn't mean I have to like delete the entire level, or like, because this level had like a concept where this was difficult to hit. But maybe, and again, this is like another problem. Maybe there's a different way of addressing this issue. For example, the playtester might give you, this doesn't happen now, but in a different situation, a playtester might give you a suggestion to do something very specific. Oh, I want you to open up this lever, for example. Again, Light didn't do this, but he might. Like another playtester might do this, like, oh, I want you to open these bricks. I want to delete these bricks. I don't like those bricks because I can't hit this thing underneath. And so if you are addressing feedback like this, I think it's important to also understand why people are suggesting things. playtesters are not necessarily like the best game designers, but their complaints or their issues they're having with those games can be still very valid. And so I think it's very important to understand why people say something. And sometimes people themselves don't quite understand why they're saying something, but they have like a certain feeling, certain emotion. And I think it's very important to like interact, to ask a lot of questions, try and understand or develop an idea of why people are reacting in a certain way, especially if the feedback you're receiving is something that you hear from multiple people. Because that means that this is absolutely not like a subjective thing that somebody like said on a whim, but actually something that is, you know, that is a common reaction to your game. And you might want to make sure that, you know, you understand what is happening here. So, you know, I also noticed it myself. This is not something that like if I think back about how I felt about playing this game, this is also something that I noticed frequently, not necessarily in this level, but in this level, the way he points out these things. Yeah, I also had problems hitting some of the bricks inside here. And maybe I had like higher patience because I kind of liked the challenge there. But other people might not. So yeah, if you have problems hitting this and he had also problems hitting there, then maybe you're not going to redesign the levels, but maybe we can like develop, like, for example, power-ups. Sorry. We can maybe develop power-ups or something that allow us to get into those corners more quickly. And ultimately, yeah, maybe more exploding bricks just to be able to hit those more easily. Right, so this is, so this one was where I was like not sure because yes, these are very difficult to hit, but they're kind of like difficult to hit on purpose. So I was not exactly sure about this. I will do some testing with a specific level and like measure how long it takes to play this game. Maybe I'm going to remove this protecting brick, so it's just the exploding bricks inside. So here's he's at powerless in here. So he's mentioned that this is another of those situations where you launch the ball in here and just bounces around all the time and it does nothing. You just wait for it to come out and it takes ages. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to address this problem, but it's important to notice that this is an issue that people notice. So he also noticed that there's a lot of levels where the bricks are too close to the pad and then it's very difficult to predict how the ball will behave and you lose a lot of balls. And I think that's in general like a very easy way to make the game more difficult. That's something that I absolutely noticed in this one. I'm kind of surprised that he didn't spell it out here, because in this level that wasn't too bad to me because I was able to break through those bricks. But in this level I definitely also felt like it was very easy to just make the ball bounce off the ricochet in the different random direction and lose it very quickly because those bricks here are very close to the pad. Again, not sure how I'm going to address this. Again, maybe just making like in the hardened bricks like here instead of indestructible bricks right here. But then he kind of like he didn't like it even here as well. Something I noticed myself, like these were actually very difficult. These bricks were sometimes difficult to hit. Especially since they're hardened, so you had to hit them multiple times to make them go away. This awful gap, yeah. No, so this is one of the situations where no, this gap is great. I love this gap. This is why I really like this level. But I agree, like those especially those bricks are difficult to hit. So I will deal with them somehow. I'm kind of interested in how he didn't like this part, because I thought this part was fine. This part was causing me stress. Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna I'm gonna do a pass over some of the levels. I'm gonna actually see how many balls people lost in the different levels. I saw already some difficulty spikes there, so I will actually address the different levels. But generally, like some common issues I see is a ball gets stuck somewhere, or not stuck, but like bouncing around somewhere and doing nothing, and people get very impatient about this. This also ties back into some other feedback we received. And also some bricks are difficult to hit, and it's very difficult to like get the ball intentionally somewhere. And then finally, third issue is that sometimes the bricks, it seems the levels seem unfair because the bricks are too close to the pad. So level feedback. I'm just gonna write those things down here as kind of like a feedback thing. So ball bouncing forever, not forever, but like in, like in quotation marks, forever. or he called it powerless here. So yeah, let's keep it with ball bouncing forever. Difficult to reach bricks. And third one is unfair bricks close to pad. So again, we're going to go like a pass over the level design to see if we can address it. And maybe some of those issues we can actually address with other gameplay features, like with power-ups that help you with those things, perhaps. Okay, so there's another screenshot I received. Let's see if we can get this one. Can we? Oh yeah, this is stressful. This one stresses me out. I got this on Twitter from a very nice Twitter friend, and he sent me this one. Oh, can I? Is it possible? Yes, I can. Okay. So this is a bit weirdly cropped, yeah. But here we go. Oops, no, didn't want to do this. Oh jeez. Oh, man. This is a weird stream setup here. I'm sorry about this. So he sent me this one, and what you see here is our ball gets stuck. It got stuck at the corner of this indestructible brick and at the edge of the screen. It just bounced around constantly, and this is horrible. This is stressing me out. This is something that where I like my stomach sunk underneath my feet, I guess. I don't know. So this is actually really problematic, because it seems like we invested so much time in collision detection, and the collision detection is still causing troubles. Ugh, bad. Ugh. So a ball gets stuck. I actually investigated this issue already and already have a solution. But I might double down on making sure that this is if this happens somewhere else in different situations, because I found why this is happening here in this specific level. I could replicate this problem. Funny enough, he was the only one who had this problem, so it's a pretty rare situation, but it can happen. I was able to reproduce it to make it happen consistently, and I was able to find a solution. But this problem might happen somewhere else, because if it happened here, then it may be happening in a different level, in a different situation, maybe a different arrangement of bricks. And so I want to I make double sure that this problem is solved, because if this happens, the game is over. You have to quit the game. There is no timer that runs out and then you can restart. You cannot even restart the game from the game. You have to reload the entire page. This is horrible. This is awful, and we need to make sure that even if we can prevent this from happening in this specific instance, in case it happens somewhere else throughout this game, the game can automatically recover from this kind of stuff. So what I was thinking, making a check, it makes sure if the ball gets really stuck somewhere, then it gets reset, maybe, perhaps, or something. Okay, I'm getting a call. Yeah, okay, so this is something that we need to make sure that gets that we can fix, that this never happens again, because this is probably the worst bug that we found. Another problem I got, and again, that's kind of not a bug that we can just solve, but actually something that we can have to figure out, is the mega ball feels useless too often. And so remember how the mega ball is very powerful, and then we reduce the timer. So because if you time it just right, the mega ball will just destroy the entire level, just clean up the entire level. Especially with multiple balls going on. So we timed it so that the timer is very short on the mega ball. So even if you trigger, you don't have enough time to clear up the entire level. But what it caused then to happen is a situation where the mega ball does nothing, because by the time it goes back to reaches the bricks, it actually runs out of time. So yeah, we have to kind of do something with the mega ball. I don't know. Another feedback we got is I don't know if it's I have a solution for this. The sash is confusing. So we got the sashes that show up, the power ups or the sick messages, and that's actually confusing to a lot of people. I understand why, but the biggest problem is that they don't actually see the ball. So I'm not going to remove the sashes. I understand why they're confusing, and to some extent, it's kind of fine that they're confusing, because it's kind of adding this arcade feeling where the screen is shaking, particles are flying, and sashes are appearing, So that's fine to some extent. But I understand that you should still be able to track the ball, even though the sash is there. So I want to be maybe drawing the ball on top of the sash, or having some kind of indicator that where the ball is, at least when the sash appears. I got an issue that the frame rate is not good. So yeah, I have to check the frame rate. I don't know. I didn't see any slowdowns. I definitely saw some slowdowns on the Pico chip, the Pico-8 chip, no, the Pocket chip. But that's a tiny device that, you know, that checks on every device. Oh yeah, and then the most important one is it feels slow. So this is an actually very interesting feedback that I got from Reddit, from a user that posted me like a really nice, beautiful feedback thing. They thought it felt slow because they watched the videos on like double speed, and so once they actually played the game, it felt very slow. Don't watch my games on double speed. But I understand why. I played some other Arkanoid games, and I was kind of struck how fast the ball was moving. So he suggested something that I really like, a good solution, I feel, where you would have like in hard and easy mode. So you have like normal mode where the ball is flying like this, which I thought was a really nice, you know, nice speed initially. But also for those people who get very impatient and stuff like that, for those you can have like a fast mode where the ball's like really flying around very fast. Not sure if the collision detection can take it, but I think it can. So that's something that also want to add, fast mode. And so this complaint, this feels slow complaint, also feeds back into the aligns with the feedback that I got from Light, where a ball bouncing forever problem. So I think these are lined up, and that makes me feel like, okay, this is actually an issue. This is a similar issue that I receive from multiple people. The ball is, sometimes the game doesn't seem like the game progresses and you get impatient. It's not the most exciting game in the world. It's not like a new game where you don't know what will happen. You know, it's used very well understood game. So whenever you get like this downtime, or whenever it takes like ages for the ball to get somewhere, you lose patience very quickly. So maybe we need to kind of somehow address this problem, make sure that the game progresses at a steady pace, that you always feel like something new is happening, that you never feel like you're, you know, treading in place. Yeah. So this is the feedback that we received. Not too much stuff, and on this episode we're not gonna address any other issues. We're not gonna actually go into any other code. If you have any other feedback from the beta, just post it in the comment sections, because this is gonna be probably my last iteration on this. I will fix these things. I will of course do like a pre-release playtesting perhaps. And then we're probably not going to do another iterations. I also don't want to change the game too much at this point. If this was like a real game that I really like wanted to really release and finish, and it was something that I actually invented, then I would totally be like, okay, I'm going to do 2 or so more iterations. I'm going to do some changes, going to do another test and stuff like that. But this was just a tutorial thing. And I wanted to copy like a specific game. I don't want to be like, deviating too far away from this one. But maybe like as another thing that I myself had problems with, and that kind of feeds back into the Mega Ball. Generally, a lot of the power-ups, I don't like them. And this is kind of a problem because, again, the power-ups are like adapted from the original Breakout or Arkanoid. And we already changed them a little bit. We already kind of removed some of them, but yeah, well, they're not that great, actually. They kind of like change random values about the game. They don't really give you a lot of different ways of playing the game. You kind of like, especially the slowdown, especially the slowdown power-up, because the game, again, we already had this problem where you feel like the game takes forever at certain moments. Like it doesn't actually do anything, and then you pick up the slowdown, which is supposed to be helping you, but it's actually not helping you at all. It actually gets even slower then. So I actually want to maybe remove the slowdown. Another power-up that is also having a similar problem is the expand one, where you get a bigger pad. I mean, that I at least understand. It helps you, but it doesn't slow down the game. But the slowdown is really something that's dragging down the game. So I was thinking about maybe removing the slowdown and replacing it with a different power-up that may be addressing some of the problems that we had in the level feedback. I have some ideas. Maybe they won't work, though. I'm not sure if this will work. If I was to continue the game, if I was to make like a second part, like a sequel, like where I can have the freedom to really go deep into the gameplay and change the gameplay radically, in a radical sense, I would probably do a lot of power-ups that can be triggered, where you can go like, oh, this is a good moment, I'm gonna fire this now, and then now the ball explodes, for example. Whoops. Or something happens that allows you to really like achieve specific goals in the level. Not sure if we're gonna do this now. I think because that would also go into controls and mess with some other stuff. So I'm not sure if we're gonna do this. Maybe. If you have any suggestions for power-ups or fixes, then also post in the comment section. Okay, so I have to go now. See you next time around when we're gonna start addressing those issues. I think the most important one we're gonna do next time around is gonna fixing how the ball gets stuck. We're gonna address collision detection one more time. See you next time around, guys. Bye bye.